Okay guys, so in this video I am going to show you how to do a solar analysis for your buildings based on building elements. And you can see here on your site, I've quickly put in, I've just created a building. It's probably a lot taller than you guys can actually put there. And I just added some windows, some doors, curtain wall, because I know a lot of you guys have curtain walls, and I put a roof on it. Just to show you how to start analyzing these. So the first thing, obviously, go to the Analyze tab, click on Solar Analysis. Oh, and actually, before I do that, first thing I want to mention, I already have it set up here, but you want to make sure that you're in Revit, your project is located, because that's how sun angles and everything are going to be used to do both the solar analysis and then when you run an energy analysis. So what you want to do is you want to go to the Manage tab, and I know some of you have probably already done this, but you go to the Manage tab, Location, and then just put in the address of your project. And what happens here is it will give you the nearest weather station. You can see here there's a bunch near. There's two that are within 0 miles of your project. And then that weather station is what is used for all the data, for wind and sun and everything like that comes in. So you just want to make sure that's set up. Obviously, within the settings themselves, you can set that up, but it's easier just to set it up here, and then it's already taken care of and everything. So if you go back to the Analyze tab and click on Solar Analysis, you can see. So this is your solar analysis window that pops up that you can change settings for. So to quickly change some stuff, to use, as I mentioned in the first video that I did, the video that I did about the difference between building elements and conceptual masses, all mass faces, R4 masses. User selection is what lets you do it by building elements. Because what that does, if you actually ran this by building elements, it would calculate every single face that you have in here. Or if you try to do it by mass faces now, it would calculate every single face. User selection lets you actually pick faces of the building that you want to run an analysis for. So you can start to just basically concentrate on the big wall faces or windows. Like if you have a big curtain glass window like I have here, instead of doing everything. I'll pick on that last to show you. Analysis grid, don't really have to worry about that too much. That'll be taken care of by what you use to select. That's going to be more for if you were running it by all faces. So like right now, if I ran this by all faces, it would do it for every single face on here. I could either hide these separately, or the surrounding building separately, or I could define the analysis grid and it'll do for whatever in that grid. But since we're doing it by selection, it doesn't matter, and I don't want to do that yet. Let me just switch this for a second. Okay. The results metric is basically kind of how the results are going to be given to you. First thing, unit. Typically, we go by BTUs. Here the English unit that we like to use that are always for energy. For us, BTUs. You guys may be used to something else. You can use that if you want. Style. I usually always leave it on solar analysis default. You could probably hit F1 or look into the solar study more through the internet and kind of get a difference what the differences are between those. I usually leave it as default. And then the type, there's two different types. Cumulative will kind of, when you set up your sun settings, it'll give you the kind of like cumulative for the solar radiation. So like if you do a 1 year study, it would give you cumulative results. And, instead of a peak hour, for whatever the peak hour is, what the solar radiation is, or average hour, giving you the average solar radiation for whatever time specified. So you can do, different variations. If you want to run for cumulative, and then one run for average hour, and then one for peak hour, you can. I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to go back, set mine as average. And then the sun settings. This is basically the same thing as if you were going to set the sun settings, through here for rendering purposes. So when you click on sun settings, you can see, like I said, it's basically the same exact window that pops up. So you can do a multi-day solar analysis where you can do a 1 year, and they have free ones that are already set for you. So you can do a 1 year solar study from obviously January 1st to December 31st. This is the times that it gives you, or you can just say sunrise. If that's not checked, this is the time that it'll run it for. Before I click that, I believe it was like 10 to 4. Obviously, sunset and sunrise differs throughout the year. So you can just click that, and it'll do sunrise and sunset for every day that it does the analogy for. Time interval. You can specify. Obviously, this would get rid of time here. You can see how it grays out when I change this to 1 month. It grays that out. So you can do obviously 1 month wouldn't be as accurate as if you're doing an average. Since I have to set the average hour, it'll do it for every hour, and that's how calculate. It'll be a little bit more kind of accurate based since it's running for every hour. Where if you did it by like a day or a month, a little less accurate. Ground plane, you can either have that checked or unchecked. Obviously, ground plane level, you would select the level that's whatever's at your ground plane of your project. Mine's obviously the site, so I'm going to leave it at site. And then also you can see here they have a winter solar study, so this is for just the months of winter. Obviously, there's not winter here in Miami, so if the project's in Miami, you don't have to worry about that. Or the fall, spring, or summer. Obviously there is some difference between the different seasons slightly here in Miami. So if you wanted to run it for each kind of season, you could. You could switch to a single day, where if you wanted to do a solar study for the day of the fall equinox, which is September 22nd, and it's the same functions where you can set different times, or you can have it be sunset to sunrise. You could 1 day solar study. You could duplicate this, or obviously you could duplicate a spring one or a winter one. You can duplicate it, and then you could always pick your own day and run it for any specific day that you want. A single day. I just did still is basically a specific day and a specific time. So if you wanted to run it for, if you had a specific day in mind that wasn't, one of these, or if you wanted to do the winter solstice just at 4 p.m. you could, or more likely maybe 2 p.m. you could, or if there was another day that you wanted to do, you could. More than likely, you're going to be on multi-day since you kind of want to figure out an average, or a single day if you wanted to do a solar study for each of the solstices. That would probably be one of the better options. And then your multi-day could, you can do a 1 year one to kind of give you your average radiation on the roof. So those, between multi-day and single day with the solstice is what you're probably gonna would rather use. So I'm just gonna do a 1 year one from now, from sunrise to sunset at a 1 hour interview, and click OK. And then I'm just gonna run. Oh, before I do that, jump the gun on that. So you can see here I had it set to all roof exterior surfaces, and it ran it for the roof. I am going to ignore that for a second. And so you can see it, that worked from here. Sometimes, since I didn't really put much work into creating that. If it was more complicated, that probably wouldn't have worked. But I'm going to go to user selection to see first of all, cancel out of this because I want that window to appear again. So go back into solar analysis. So everything, once you set up the settings in your project, so everything's the same as what I set up before. And then I'm going to go to user selection, And this is kind of a warning that it gives you, and it tells you that some detailed geometry in Revit are not supported, like windows, glass, some families, different types of component, length objects, surface geometry, which is kind of like site, earthwork and stuff like that, are not supported. But elements like walls, floors, and ceilings can be, and any glass that you have that's kind of your generic glass, like on the window, is assumed to be 100% transparent. So that's why the user selection is better, and you guys can read through that a little bit more to get a better understanding if you want. So with your user selection, click off that for a second. Basically, it gives you this where you can start to select faces, all the faces that you want to analyze. For this one, for mine, I am going to select just the major faces that are here, and I'm gonna see how it's not letting me select the glass here. It did let me select that. Oh, there it goes. So just zoom in. I guess just zoom in closely so you can. I think the problem is you just gotta make sure you're actually selecting the glass. You can see there's like different. When you zoom in, you can see there's different layers to it. I'm not going to select all of them because I just just to show you guys. And then you can see if I move this, you can see obviously everything's grayed out, and that's because you're kind of like in a function. So after you select everything, just make sure you come up to here and hit finish, and then it will now let you run the analyze. And now you can see there is a bunch of different colors assigned to your building. And if you zoom out, you will find the legend somewhere. And now this legend tells you from, so your BTUs per foot of solarization. So purple is 6 all the way up to yellow, which is 142. So obviously on my building, there's a lot of solar radiation on the roof. Windows aren't as bad. Walls, up, obviously I have a little bit of an overhang. So, it's more green, and obviously way up there it's purple because it's protected by the sun. It's protected from the sun. So there's different ways that you can set that. You can play around with this and do it that way. So it's not, like I said, if it's not working, we can look at it more. And you can see when I close the solar analysis tab out, that this still stays there. And the reason for that is if you kind of hover over your building, it kind of creates like a little color model of your building that's an analysis result. So if you wanted to, I could delete that and get rid of it, and I'll get rid of the legend and the analysis. Or if you want, you can find that 3D, you can find the 3D view that you're in, which I believe I have my view set up into the different disciplines. You can rename this view, solar analysis 1. And then if you hit the 3D button here, it creates a new default one for you. Which, for here, obviously, since I have mine broken down, it comes in like this. I have to assign it a new category. But it'll create a new 3D for you. That's a generic, so you can leave that one. Or as I said, if you hover and find the results, you can delete it, and it'll bring you back your, your file. But obviously, saving it, renaming it and then creating a new default 3D view would probably be better. Just because you probably want to save the different types of analysis that you run, so you can always look back to them, and obviously you have them, so you can, for ones that you're actually going to use to display in presentations or something like that, you want to keep, so you can, drag and drop them on your title blocks, or your sheet layout, so you can print them. And that concludes the solar analysis tutorial. Obviously, if there's any questions or something's not working, we can look at it more in studio, or whenever I'm walking in there to help you guys out.